Investment City of Houston meeting. If there are any board members on Zoom, and I see at least one, please identify yourself. I'm Mary Carmen.
Mary Carmen Temez, present and accounted for. Love seeing your faces.
You, good to see you too.
Doc Cunningham, you look gorgeous.
Would you say that again, please?
I said, Miss Doc Cunningham, you look gorgeous.
Oh, honey, you're so
Wow,
sweet.
now it's preserved on the record. This is excellent. Very good, because it's certainly true. So our members of public on the Zoom, please identify yourselves.
This is Margarita Dunlap with Metro. Hi, everyone again.
Okay, thank you. Others?
Jennifer
Hi,
Curley,
Chris.
City of Houston.
Okay,
Sorry, Kristen.
That's okay. Kristen Blomquist with Masterson Advisors.
wonderful. Okay, anybody else? I don't see anybody else. So, okay, rules for the Zoom participants, please. State your name before speaking and keep it on mute if you are not speaking. First order of business is to approve the minutes from the January 26th, 2022 meeting. That's in the red tab, page 1. I'd like a motion to approve the minutes, please. Second. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Aye.
Hi.
Motion carried. Okay, we're going to suspend investment zone number 16, City of Houston, and call to order Uptown Development Authority meeting where we'll go through the same process again. Board members present on Zoom. Carmen, please identify yourself.
Mary Carmen Temez.
Thank you. Members of the public on Zoom, please identify yourselves.
Margarita Dunlap with Metro.
Jennifer Curley, City of Houston.
Kristen Blomquist with Masterson.
All right, we got that down pat. Okay. Are there any questions or comments from the public? Betsy, anybody sign up? No? Okay, our first order of business is to approve the minutes from the January 26, 2022 meeting. Green tab, page number 1. Do I have a motion, please? Moved by Dot, second. Second. All in favor, please say aye. 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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Review the quarter investment report. We'll turn it over to Shannon Daniels for that.
Okay, thank you. On page 3, behind the green tab, we have the first page of the Uptown Development Authority's quarterly report for the period of October 1st through December 31st, 2021. And this first page just kind of outlines the balances that we have in each of the funds. In our capital projects fund, we had just over 1.4 million with Capital Bank, which is our primary depository. And we had just over $1.1 million with Regions Bank, which is where we have proceeds from the note program. In that second middle section, we have the infrastructure fund with Bank of New York Mellon, who is a trustee. We had just over $27 million in that fund. That is a debt service as well, which is about 15 million of that, and then proceeds. And the last section is our affordable housing fund, which you know we're the fiduciary for the City of Houston housing, and we had just over 7.5 million, which that is debt service primarily too. The second page of this report shows those deposits that require collateral security for the demand deposits and anything that is invested. With Capital One Bank, those are demand deposits. The $1.4 million imbalance is sufficiently collateralized. The same with Regions Bank, those funds are demand deposits that are collateralized. And our funds that we hold with the Bank of New York Mellon are in a money market fund that are in treasuries, which is an approved investment. So that's just over 34 million. Also on this report, we keep up with the compliance for officer training. We are in compliance, and 10 hours of training will be required this year, 2022, as 10 hours are required every 2 years. And then last section is just a list of approved brokers and bankers that we work with. Are there questions or concerns as we look over this report?
Any questions, concerns, comments, anybody? No, okay. Thank you, Shannon. I think
Thank
we'll now turn to review of some invoices for approval.
Correct. So we have also for you the invoices that we like to get approval on. This page 5, the top section is just over 94,000 for reimbursements to the management district. And then in the center, you see we have just over 151,000 professional services with various consultants, legal and design consultants and project managers for our Landbridge project primarily. Those two sections together, just over 246,000 worth of invoices with professional services or reimbursements. And then we also have those contract payments, just over 1.9 million, 149,000 for Raytech, and then just over 1.7 million for Telepson, that's building the land bridge. We're also requesting authorization to make payments for those professional services in the event that we do not meet in March. And so we're asking for 400,000 of authorization to pay professional consultants. All in all, we got $2.579 million worth of items presented for you that we'd like your approval on. And then the following pages gives a little bit more information about those payments.
So there's a possibility, and our projection forward, that there may not be a need for a March meeting.
Okay, so that's the
And
request
that's
for the
the request.
400,000.
We don't
Okay.
have any. Low probability that we'll need a March meeting.
This would help us not.
Yeah.
need to
Yes,
have
this
it.
would help us not need a
Right,
March
because
meeting.
we don't want to have the own.
Right.
400,000.
Well, you know what, the 400 is my like boosted up, because it's really like 151 that we're approving today of actual invoices. So I did ratchet it up a little bit.
Understood. Questions, anybody? There are no questions. May I have a motion to approve this for payment, including the $400,000 to cover us through March?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Shannon, we're going to stick with you for the MWDBE report, please. This is tab 2, page 8.
Okay, thank you. Page 8 is summary. The top half of this shows where we are with regards to professional goals and construction goals for our DBE, SBE support from inception to January. You can see we're at 41% for professional services with a goal of 24, and construction 25% with a goal of 17. The lower half of this page looks at this particular fiscal year to date. Again, professional service goal of 24, we're at 67. And then construction for this year to date, we're at 32%, exceeding that 17% goal. And then the pages that follow outline a little bit more detail with the contractor, who the subcontractors are, and what we've spent year to date. Then we give a couple of graphs that kind of chart out over the months where our participation has been, and we've also added a little more detail with our DBE breakdown, so you can see which particular groups those monies are being spent with as we carry through the project. Are there questions or concerns with regard to the MWDBE SBE reports?
This is for review purposes only, so we don't need to approve it, but thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to consider the approval of an interlocal agreement between the Uptown Development Authority and the City of Houston. John and Andrew are going to take us through that.
I'm going to make a very 30,000-foot overview. If you have any questions, you've got Andrew here to help. And then Stephen's, the real action is to approve an interlocal agreement. Vegas, you go forward. The good news is that the City of Houston is trying to really expand their ability to go out and make panel repairs in streets. The problem is that they have a certain limited amount of staff, And they found that working with the tax increment reinvestment zones, throughout the management districts, it's a very effective way to multiply their effort. So what they are proposing is a program that is fully funded by the city of Houston, staff time, engineering, design, and the project itself. And the estimated amount for us in the amount about $4,805,000. It's primarily within the Memorial Park area, running from the West Loop on Woodway and Memorial over to Westcott. And so we just looking, it's a possibility that the program could be expanded. And it's even a possibility that they would want us to do other streets and that we kind of have some impact on and within our jurisdiction. And so this is something that we're bringing to you. Dave, if you go to the next shot, just to give you a little insight, we want to get this done, get it out on the street, get construction started and be completed by the time that the park improvements and land bridge project is essentially completed. Today you see February 23rd. We're asking for you to approve an agreement with the city of Houston. We would then go out and hopefully bid that in the early part of March and be ready to award this project in April and be able to go to work before the end of May and complete in October. This is just the I'm trying to what I believe that there's a cover sheet on page 15 that tells you a little bit about this. Stephen, is the total agreement?
The interlocal agreement is on page 16.
16. Yeah. Full depth.
Yeah, thank you.
Defined sections of full pavement that are identified by the city or by us.
It'd be by our engineers that would identify where it needs to be repaired, and then even curb, road surface, and they do, you know, an extended piece, not just a pothole. Full depth repair, subgrade, rebar, 11 inches of concrete, Harley strength to get it, you know, in place and operational as soon as possible. Traffic management to make it all happen. We have done that on Woodway and a couple other places in the uptown area, and this is a program very similar to what we've done in the past.
And somebody makes the decision that this ain't worth it. We've got to repairing too large a percentage. In other words, it gets back to how do you decide what to repair panel?
Public work.
Asphalt.
Our engineers will define what meets the requirements of needing to be repaired. I mean, you have a subgrade exterior, you've got concrete ready to go. And if you think about driving Woodway and Memorial, there's plenty of that. And the extent of that is where you need to take it back to make it, you know, really function into the future. We come up with a plan, City Public Works approves what we are recommended, and that becomes what the bid package looks like. A couple of things that come up is that we'll bid this and the city will agree to that dollar amount. And as agreement stands now, that they will then give us all the money to make that happen. And we're going to go out and do the construction. We can be audited. Andrew, Stephen, anything else?
That's it, John. You said what I was going to say about the agreement. This is the shortest, simplest agreement I've ever gotten from the city attorney's office. And it's great. And I mean, no, they wrote it. This is their preferred vehicle. There's nothing objectionable in it to me. Of course, we would bid this in accordance with state law anyway. We're required to do that. They'll have the rights to audit it. And they transfer us the money once we get the bids, and we can do change orders that have to be approved by the Director of Public Works. And
so what happens if we've got excessive weather delays and we're now going over budget, the contractor asks for a change order? Legitimate.
we would submit the requested change order to the Director of Public Works. And if the Director of Public Works approves it, then the city will pay for the change order according
they
to the
don't approve
contract. If they don't approve it, then
We do less.
we would do less concrete.
That's
Yeah,
what I was trying
that's
to
what,
understand. Do
yeah.
we have
Yeah.
exposure?
Yeah. We would have, we don't, but we would have to probably reduce the size of the project or choose to use our own funds, which I
Probably wouldn't. make
don't,
that choice.
yeah, I wouldn't recommend doing that.
And the key thing here is that the land bridge project, Dave, if you could go back to the map. As you can see, kind of the area between the dashes here is really the land bridge project. And all of that is new roadway that's constructed, so that's what's left out. I think that we will be extremely sensitive to what's going on with the land bridge project.
Right.
And I don't think that we want to be tearing up the panel as you get ready to enter the new construction the day that they're doing ribbon cutting for the land bridge
I'm
project.
just
So
curious, when we talk about panel replacement, do we have a sense of how much of a percentage of the roadway we're going to tear up? Is it 1%, 5%?
It's about 25%.
So it's a lot.
Yeah.
In all three of those segments is 25%?
Yes, if you took the entirety of that length.
Mayor
It's
Carmen,
about
the
25%.
sections of those three segments that need to be repaired, sometimes that segment could be 40 feet long, sometimes it could be 180 feet long, depending upon,
But of the total pavement,
it's about 20.
it's about 20. So that's a
It's
a lot. Yeah.
It's about 270,000.
Is it fair to say that the rest of the segments are also in great shape? I mean, I'm trying to, why? Because there's a lot to do, and obviously no one wants to say we build the whole thing, right? So is this kind of a dollar amount going to get us what we need, you think?
Yes, sir.
Or is it just a scope that gets adjusted if we're not?
No, we think it's a good, we've got a good.
We have talked, we've worked with some contractors that are on the job in that area now, who work with us, and even the city's public works. They're out doing this in other parts of the city. So the idea of what it costs to do, you know, a yard of concrete.
I'm just curious, what's been happening with concrete prices in here?
Yeah.
Up? How much up over the last year?
Steel board concrete.
That does, I'm trying to, I'm just looking out for our interest in not going over budget no matter what.
This has been,
And if we're locking in those prices for that concrete for now, for the whole project, right?
Well, there is a hard bid.
yes,
It'll be a 90-day lock.
Yeah, so it's like any other contracts we would let. Okay,
But I mean, we're gonna have a budget and we're gonna pour concrete to that budget.
well,
And we need,
my observation though, is if we start off and we contract to spend, what's the total number?
the current estimate is
Okay,
4,805.
let's say, so we sign contract for 4.8 million, and then we go over, we have a problem.
We have,
So what do we do?
we will bid this and we will find out how close that 4,805 is correct. So we'll have bid price that will go into it.
Are we gonna then pull back a contingency?
And we also have a contingency of,
Our contingency, not a contract.
how much?
300,000 built into the 4.8.
That's not huge.
But the
Given what's happened with
bottom line
prices.
is, we will, so we're gonna have a plan. A geographically specific, this 10 feet is gonna get replaced.
Right.
We're gonna have specs that see what it has, how it has to be done. And then we're gonna bid it, and everybody is gonna be bidding the same thing, that 10 feet or that 180 square feet, et cetera. So it's and this is not rocket science, it's panel replacement. Weather could have affected, other things could affect it, but we have a built-in contingency and there's a ability to do change orders. And if we spend more money on a given section and don't have money to complete it, that's a fact of life in the city. Public Works will have to work for something.
well, and also, there is going to be a limit of appropriation initially, probably $5 million. I suppose it possibly could be higher. But if the bid comes in above that, we have the ability not to continue with the contract.
Yeah. I'm
Or
just
rebid
wondering
it.
whether in the middle of the contract, we have the ability to eliminate scope without breaching our agreement with the city.
We do.
That's what I'm, that's in my concern.
We can,
Does that make sense?
so we would like for you to authorize us to finalize this agreement with the city of Houston that you find beginning on page 16.
Question.
Yes, sir.
When you look at our minority participation numbers, they're pretty good in certain categories and not really good in others. Is this the type of project where we might be able to have a little bit more diversity of contractor?
I'm trying to think how, one, we're going to get a certain amount, but let's say, could we, has a minority contractor won any of these panel placements around city? Are there already guys doing it? And I don't know the answer to that. Second thing is, if you say, should we perhaps break out a piece that we would really, a geographic section perhaps, that we'd like to really work with a minority contractor to come in and be the lead on that. I mean, we could do a lot of things. We've got a pretty good history though of getting minority contractors in to do a project like this. Andrew, I'm just thinking about what we could do. And Judson, really, I'm really trying to sit here at the podium, think about what we could do to not just get minority contractors in as part of the team, but perhaps get a minority contractor as a lead for perhaps not all of it. I don't know if we went out and bid it today, that a minority contractor wouldn't win the whole thing. I mean, if we got a smaller company, it's got a little bit lower overhead, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we're certainly willing to try to find ways to encourage minority lead on a project like this.
Well, it's rebar and concrete, but it's something there's a lot of folks that do this kind of work. And of course, the challenge always is the
Bonding.
bonding, right? So, can we, like you suggested, we break them into 2 or 3 smaller projects, so that we get the quality that we need and the cost that we need.
We're doing it's not required at the moment, but we're doing a pre-bid conference. Aren't we currently programmed to do that?
Yes.
That might be a good opportunity to really try to get some minority contractors in here.
Well, and to try and convince them as well for the bigger firms that even looking at a JV agreement or something that's going to help with that, right? Where, again, because of the bonding or what they can or a smaller company can or cannot do, but a JV agreement might be a perfect, and have that information session as a connecting session, right?
Yes, yes, that's exactly what I'm thinking. And quite honestly, I mean, we can go through the city. If you through Houston Area Urban League have the ability to touch some people and see if they're interested, and we would certainly encourage that.
And even on the district side, we use and I don't know, look, this is an account, and I don't know how different a sidewalk is from like a big concrete panel, but we use people like TCP Services who do a lot of concrete work, sidewalk work in our district area. So, and I know they do some work with other entities and textile, and that's something that's a contract that the district uses pretty regularly throughout the area. So it might be worth.
The Land Bridge project, we have a minority contractor that's essentially built the tunnels.
Yeah.
That's
true.
And so, Judson, I appreciate any input, any help. I think we'll try to work I'm just giving you some off the cuff things. We'll try to work our pre-bid meeting, try to get a little bit more participation. And we're currently set for 20% for minority visitors. And it's it's conceivable that number could be justified to be higher, given that there are probably more minority contractors that do flat work concrete than a lot of other things. So if you would permit us to move forward on this, I would keep the board informed of where we are, but I would say all three of those things I just mentioned are probably something that are very, very doable. Raise the level, work with you and others to try to identify some, and then use the pre-bid conference. And if anybody else has a great idea, we can incorporate that.
I know the city has the Office of Business Opportunity, and they kind of focus on those size contractors and trying to scale them up a little bit, and JV and all those different things. They have a playbook on that kind of stuff, so it's easier.
And we will be back before the board to award the bids. So you'll get
So
to
we
see.
did it, we come back and.
Oh, yes, we have, the board has to award the bids.
Any other questions? May I have a motion to approve the agreement, please?
Second.
Dot, second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Agreement is approved. Okay, now we're going to talk about an amended extended note facility agreement.
Yeah, I'm going to cover the very, the simple stuff, and I have Shannon and Catherine Lindquist with our financial advisor. But this give you a kind of a historical perspective of where we are. If you remember, those of you, I think all of you were on the board in August of 2018, we entered into an agreement with the Regions Bank for a note program at a total of $27 million was approved. We ultimately borrowed about $22 million from Regions Bank. The objective was that we would eventually take this short-term financing out and longer-term financing. We did that in August of 21 and paid off about 15 million of that 22. So we had a balance remaining of $7 million as of today. That agreement with Regions Bank expires or matures in April of this year. And we have been working with them and they with us to find a way into the future. And what we have today is a request for the board to approve. We're hopefully will be an extension or amendment of the existing agreement. The bank has offered a term sheet of $15 million over the next 3 years. The interest rate is presented there. Shannon tells me that's about 0.8% at the moment. And then again, ultimately, the short-term financing gets taken out long-term within the next 3-year time frame. And I covered more than Shannon.
That was
You get
it.
to-
Yeah.
Yeah, I get to read, you get to answer the hard questions.
And we also have Kristen on board with Masterson.
How would you take the short term out?
At the end of the 3-year period, we are projecting to be in a position to roll it over into longer term.
To sell bonds.
To sell bonds.
20 years.
Yeah.
And do I recall correctly that this is floating rate debt?
This is floating rate debt.
So the rate's awesome today.
It's awesome today.
It'll be less awesome probably soon. But still the spread is really low. And so kind of hard to figure we could do any better than this on a floating rate basis.
Correct.
That's a
That
fair
is true.
assessment of it.
That's a fair assessment, and I will point out, and Kristen pulled me out of deep water if I'm speaking over my ability here, but this is, and Stephen, subordinate lien debt that Regions did for us a few years ago, and we're willing to extend that. And I think it'd be very hard to find somebody else to take over a subordinate lien position in this kind of environment with this kind of rate, so.
That's right.
Chris, you want to weigh in?
That's
on
right.
it?
No, I agree. We reached out to a few other banks and it was hard to get past that subordinate pledge, especially, considering the credit implications currently with COVID and other factors. And the fact that they kept the interest rate calculation, almost identical for the same term, is pretty good. So we very much like this term sheet. There are some typos and a few things we need to negotiate, but overall, it's a very good term sheet.
Questions? Louis, Dot, Judson, questions?
And we do propose to accomplish this through an amendment to the existing agreement. And so that's what we're asking the board to do today, is to authorize us to amend the agreement.
We have a motion to that effect, please.
So moved.
Judson, thank you. Dot, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, only in the event that we can't use existing documents when we do an extension, it is conceivable that we could bring this back to the board. If we had Scott.
Understood.
Both parties think we could. Extension.
Right, thank you. All right, project update.
Got a quick update. Ribbon cutting, we're setting up for hopefully in March on the east tunnel. We'd like to open the east tunnels. That's the tunnel as you're going from here to downtown, that side of the Memorial Drive in mid-March, we're thinking. And then the westbound tunnels, the lanes coming back in mid-April. And then we're still on track for an October finish, hopefully. Looking good. There's a quick drone shot looking towards downtown. Notice the new trails going in as well, like this picture. So it's looking pretty good. Very good. Here's a picture of the stabilization of the east mound. So it's looking good. This is the Flex Terra with a hydroseeding mix. Here's a picture of the Tierra again on the east mound east side. And then you've got your safety fences here that are camouflaged to stop pedestrians from getting onto the roadway. Another shot with the lights and the John with the arcing walls coming around. A drone shot looking back towards uptown, kind of give you a feel for the mountain will actually go up another 8 feet here on the tops. So it give you a feel of going through a mountain. One shot on the right is the north area that'll become the heaviest activity as soon as the roads are open and we demolish the existing.
I think off this photograph shows better than anything. You can almost see the fence or the wall that's being built and then this sloping. It's going to be a very nice design experience, I think, as you come into the tunnels.
It's been hard to imagine how nice it's going to look when it's finished.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. As soon as we can get the cars into the tunnels, we can destroy and move all the concrete of the old roadway. And then I think Andrew said previously is that the slope on the north side would look a lot like the slope on the south side to our left.
That's right. So it'll be a mirror image.
You'll get a better view. Kind of, the park really does rise up and go over the street.
You'll be able to come off the SLTs, the Seymour Lieberman trails, the new one, and access both mounds. It's really nice.
We're going to nominate this project for a.
It is nominated for, the city of Houston is trying to nominate it for an award right now from Public Works, like a national one. So I haven't brought that to John's attention yet.
It's going to be a world-class environment park section, transportation, yada yada.
I just think a couple of thousand years from now, there'll be some archaeologists sitting around the table saying, why did they go through that hill? Why didn't they just go around on the flat part?
Let's tear it down and, yeah, flatten it out. Yeah, that'll be the day.
Well,
That's
if
right.
you do the calculations on the circle, it's actually pi and 18 arts.
We had a leader.
So anyway, it's really beginning to take shape, and it's Walt has a birthday on March 4th, and they were trying to have a ribbon cutting at that same time, and Doc couldn't be at the ribbon cutting, so they've moved the date.
It's true.
Well, we did move the date. The cause might have been. The date,
You're
you're
gonna
gonna
have
have
that.
you'll get to be there.
And
so will I.
Oh, I'm so
There you go.
happy.
That's nice.
I was grieving over that.
Andrew, thank you.
Yeah.
And unless there's any other business, we're going to recess the Uptown Development Authority meeting. We are going to reconvene the investment zone number 16 City of Houston meeting, and now we're going to adjourn both meetings. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.